So good afternoon. I am standing here with my executive team as well as City Manager Ed Zuercher. As you know, the Department of Justice announced its investigation into the pattern of practices of the Phoenix Police Department, and today we're just going to talk to you a little bit about that statement. So I've been with law enforcement for 32 years. The majority of that I've spent in this city of Phoenix, raising my two sons. Everyone knows I love this city, and I'm committed to leading our department and protecting and serving all people with dignity and respect. Our community deserves it, and I nor my team will not settle for anything less. The Department of Justice inquiry is another opportunity to further improve the department and to better serve our city. Wearing the badge is a privilege, not a right. Let me say that again. Wearing this badge is a privilege, not a right. The majority of our officers out there act every day with professionalism and compassion. We've said this before. We welcome an outside assessment before, and we'll welcome this one with open arms. What it will do, it will lead to a better police department. It will lead to the opportunity for us to better and serve you. We are looking forward to seeing what we're doing right. We're also looking forward to what we can improve on. I've said this before as well. Public trust is essential for effective policing, and accountability is a big component of that trust. Since last summer, some of the reforms included meeting not only the mandatory 2 requirements of communities, we met the 12 discretionary elements as well. Under the direction of Mayor Kate Gallego, we met all the requirements for the national referendum 8 Can't Wait campaign. It was echoed by Attorney General Merrick Garland that this uniform is not always the right one to respond to calls for service. And when we get those calls, we will continue to respond until we have the opportunity to send other resources at a later date. Our police department, like any other entity on the face of the planet, always has room for improvement. We embrace that, we welcome that, and we accept that responsibility. With that, I'd like to turn the microphone over to City Manager Ed Zuercher.
Thank you, Chief. I'm City Manager Ed Zuercher. As the Chief mentioned this morning, U.S. Department of Justice announced their review of the Phoenix Police Department. It's been my commitment as City Manager that we at the City of Phoenix will embrace any opportunity for reform and improvement. Under the direction of the Mayor and City Council, we have sought out independent assessments of the Phoenix Police Department over the last several years, including a comprehensive report by the National Police Foundation in 2019 and the assessment that's currently underway by our independent contracted agent. We've reformed many of our policies, including, as the Chief said, joining the National 8 Can't Wait program to reform our use of force policies. And as I told the Department of Justice staff this morning in the meeting, we look forward to taking this step with the Department of Justice and will fully cooperate with any requests they make of the city or the Phoenix Police Department. I want to talk for just a second about one of the key elements from Attorney General Garland's news conference today. He spoke of challenges in cities across the country where police, by default, end up as the primary responders for those experiencing a mental or behavioral health crisis or homelessness. It is always our responsibility to treat people well with dignity and respect. And this cannot be solely a police responsibility. That's why it was so important that the City Council and the Mayor set aside in this year's budget $15 million in a new budget for the Community Assistance Program, where we will have specially trained experts who provide services to those developed over the next 12 months. These types of reforms are what will make our police department and our community stronger. I want to say I believe in the men and women of the Phoenix Police Department who commit their lives to protecting the community. I know that good officers do not want to work in a system that allows bad practices. And our community expects and deserves a high-quality police department with officers committed to justice, fairness, and respect. we will continue to hold that as a standard that we measure our police department, our police chief, and our police officers against. The Department of Justice investigation will provide one more avenue toward making Phoenix a safer, stronger place for all residents, workers, visitors, and our police department. I'm confident in the leadership of Chief Jeri Williams. The Phoenix Police Department can and will continue to do better for the residents of Phoenix. At this point, we will take questions you might have.
So this is the third probe of its kind to be launched under the Biden administration. So Phoenix PD joins two other law enforcement agencies, one of them behind the death of George Floyd, another behind the death of Breonna Taylor. Where do you feel like your department measures up against agencies that have been the center of such high-profile force incidents?
So I think I mentioned it in my comments before. Any police department, any entity has room for improvement. Mine is no different. I will say this, I'm confident in our ability to police. I'm confident in our ability to engage and embrace what the DOJ is looking for in their pattern and practice review. But I'm also confident that at the end of the day, if they tell us to do some things differently, we will fully embrace that and work towards that end.
What do you tell your officers today? What do you tell them?
I tell them to continue to do the amazing work that they do day in and day out, taking over 1 million calls for service, putting on a uniform, working at the crime lab. Continue to do what they do, and we'll work through this process together.
Chief, you mentioned, like, there's a lot of things I've said before. I've said this before. With this latest investigation, what actually will change moving forward?
So that I love that question from anyone from the media. So it's always asked, hey, what are you doing to reform? We've reformed this police department from top to bottom since the time that I've been here. We have numerous reforms, and we'll make sure we push out that information to the media later so that you will have it. But I think it's important to say that we're reinforcing our commitment to that trust. When I say that, I've said it before, I am reinforcing the commitment to leadership. The commitment, as the city manager said, to justice, to fairness, to equity. We're just reinforcing that, and this is just another opportunity to have that happen.
In light of the DOJ announcement this investigation, do you think that all the reinforcement that you've done so far is enough at this point?
So there's always room for improvement, which is why the Department of Justice is coming in, looking at our patterns and practices. And as the city manager said, we're going to fully embrace that. And I'm confident in a lot of the things that we've done here that haven't been done in other parts of the country. So I'm looking forward to them seeing what we've done right and also what we can improve on. Thank you.
Chief, I want to ask you real quick. You know, you mentioned, I think the phrase was, officers act every day with professionalism and compassion, and the city manager said our goal is to always treat people with dignity and respect. But people are going to hear what the Attorney General said today and say, you know, he's mentioning throwing out, you know, the stuff of homeless residents, men and women experiencing that, excessive force violations, police practices that violate the Constitution. I mean, on. And they're going to say that does not gel with what you're saying, which is your officers act a certain way. What do you think the DOJ is going to find, and how do you tell the public to reconcile those two differences?
So what I think the DOJ is going to find is that we've made a lot of improvements in our policies, procedures, and practices. I think what the DOJ is going to find is that we implemented body-worn cameras. I think what the DOJ is going to find, all the reform efforts we've made in the last year. What do we tell the public? We're committed to getting better. What do we tell the public? We're not afraid to embrace anyone coming in making an outside assessment of our agency. And wherever the gaps are, we'll figure those gaps out, and we'll become a better police department.
What does it say that the DOJ, after all those reforms, is still coming in, though? Like, they know what you've done, and they're still saying, we think we need to go camp out in Phoenix and do a deep dive investigation into your department.
We embrace it. We welcome it.
Were you surprised by the DOJ showing up in the city of Phoenix today, talking to you and saying, hey, we're going to do this?
So we found out last night that they were coming, and we embraced it, and we were fully aware that they were coming here. And I thought we had, boss, a great meeting with them. We were able to ask some questions and comments, and they shared with us what they were going to do. So it wasn't a surprise. We were fully embracing of it.
And is this an indictment of the Department of the Phoenix Police Department?
I'm sorry?
Is this investigation an indictment of Phoenix Police?
I don't look at it as an indictment. I look at it as an opportunity for us to share and show what we do, and the opportunity for an outside independent entity, because they've mentioned that very deeply this morning, the outside entity to look at what we're doing and to share and show what we do and to learn from what we don't.
One more question. What do you know about what this review is going to look like? Is this for the investigators overseeing police officers doing their work?
So based on the limited information we were showed with today, so they're not going to come hang out and live in Phoenix. They're going to make intermittent trips with Phoenix. They're going to talk to community members. They're going to speak with and talk to our command team. They're going to ask for policies, procedures, and practices. What that report looks like in the end, none of us will know until we get it, but our commitment is that we're going to work very closely with them and provide them any and all things that they need. So
Quick follow-up, how long do you
Think they'll be here? Are you thinking 6 months, 2 years? Any indications?
So they didn't give us an exact date, maybe a little bit over a year.
And then city manager, you recently announced you'd be leaving the city. Did you know about this? I mean, Chief just said last night, but did you see this coming? Did that play a factor into your departure?
Not at all.
Thank you very much, everybody. If you have specific questions that you want answered that we can't answer at this point, you're welcome to email us, and we're happily get back with you. Again, if you have some specific questions regarding any of the reforms or anything that has been done since last summer or during her tenure, we're happy to give you that information.
I just got to say, I can't hold my tongue on this. Like, we know the reforms. You know what I mean? Like, we want to ask the chief and the city manager more questions. So I'd be remiss if I just didn't characterize, my feelings on that, right? And I understand you got to cut it off at some point, but.
Thank you.
And there's a difference between having, the two of the highest people involved.